My mind is a raging torrent, flooded with rivulets of thought, cascading into a waterfall of creative alternatives. WGN!
.720 WGN. Good evening, John Landecker. Thank you for joining the program. 7 minutes after 7 o'clock. Would you welcome radio's best friend, my friend since high school.
High school,
my friend.
That's a long time ago.
It is, isn't it? Thank you. Art Vuolo is in the studio. No, that's okay. We don't drink service.
Yeah,
no. Right here. Look over your shoulder. You know, there's a party going on here. There has been since.
Are you all done?
We're all done. Thank you, sir.
I think he's taking my drink away.
You know, if there's anybody passed out in the hallway, just leave them there. I haven't seen this much drinking at a radio station since 1976.
You don't need any food. When you have radio people, all you need is a lot of booze, right? That's all you need, trust me.
Well, they had food.
Yeah, well.
Come on, they had food. I even wrote down some of the things that I ate, including wait till you hear this. A Parmesan cookie with pan-seared scallop and crispy prosciutto. Yummy. So
Can't do better than that.
Yeah. So there's a big party going on here. It's wrapping up about right now. And
what's the celebration for?
100 years of something
100
or other.
years.
Yeah. And art. There's a story to this. There's a story that features myself and Art, and that's what we're going to do now. We're going to do this entire story from beginning to where we sit right now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So Art contributed a great amount of video to the 100-year special that ran on Channel 9. Because Art has been going into radio stations for an awfully long time.
43 years this year.
And that's where I first met you.
Yeah.
Was at a radio station.
Yeah, but I wasn't doing video. That was BV. That was before video.
You had like a Kodak Instamatic.
Oh, I took pictures and stuff, but there was no video.
No. But you were going into radio stations and taking pictures of people on the air and putting them in a scrapbook.
Yeah, DJs.
Right. Why?
I was fascinated. You got to remember, John, back in that era, okay, in the 60s, you know, DJs were celebrities. Mm-hmm. They had 8x10 black and white glossy pictures that they signed with pens and things, you know, and people put them on their walls. They were like movie stars.
Yes.
And now they're just an annoyance between the records, you know. I mean, they have been so downgraded.
It's so true.
It's sickening.
It's so true.
You know.
So Art started being a observer of radio, and over the years moved from pictures, photos to video.
To video. Yeah, that was in the mid-'70s. I saw my first video, which was really an 8mm film.
Right.
That was taken by a very big West Coast radio personality by the name of Shotgun Tom Kelly. Okay?
Yeah.
And of course, like everybody who's named Kelly, it's not their real name. There's not a Kelly in this business where it's their real name.
Did I ever tell you that my last name really is Kelly? No, it's not.
Listen, I remember when you worked in Philadelphia and they made a reproduction of your draft card.
That's right.
To prove that Records truly is your middle name.
Actually, I think it was specifically called the Selective Service Certificate.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. When you got that little letter that said greetings.
Yeah. So Art and I have known each other since high school.
Yeah.
The radio station that he came into was on a dirt road across from a dairy farm,
right?
Between Ann Arbor and Saline, Michigan.
Yeah, just southwest of Ann Arbor, and with the cows would come up to the window, look in the control room.
And since then, how do I describe this? The outsider has become the insider, right?
So to speak.
Yeah. Because over the years, I'm sure there are some people listening right now who go, wait a minute, Art Vuolo, I know that name, because he's been visiting on-air personalities with a video camera for decades. Mm-hmm. And can you just reel off a few of them that are in the Chicago market that you've put on videotape?
Well, the big ones would be you, Larry Lujak.
Yeah.
I was privileged to, and sadly, I have the last video of Bob Collins,
right,
which was just before Christmas of 1999, because that terrible accident happened in February of 2000. So, and I, of course, had no idea I was getting the last video of him, just like I had no idea when I videotaped a keynote address to broadcasters at a talk radio seminar out in Los Angeles by Paul Harvey.
Right.
And I said, as I was taking my equipment down at the end, people were coming up to me and saying, "Wow, do you realize what you just got?" And I said, "Yeah, I just got a hell of a keynote by one of the all-time greatest people in broadcasting, Paul Harvey." "No, you may have just gotten his last one." And I said, "Oh, come on. This man's got plenty of time. He was sharp as a tack." But you want to know something?
It was.
That was his last one.
Wow. What year was that? You remember?
It was 2003. 2003, yeah. And
was that here in Chicago?
No, it was in Marina Del Rey,
wow.
L.A.
Well, you did Stephen Gary.
I did, yeah. Yes. They have ripped me.
That's what I'm getting to. Did you do Jonathan Brandmeier?
No, there are 3 people that never let me record them.
See?
Jonathan Brandmeier.
Right.
Rick Dees out in L.A.
Yes.
And, of course, Howard in New York.
Howard Stern.
Yeah.
But other than that, just about everybody. Just about everybody, including Rush Limbaugh, talk show hosts, just the big ones, the small ones, the in-between ones.
Rush Limbaugh let me in the studio, believe it or not, to record his 3rd anniversary show at WABC in New York. And this is when he was at the local station, but he was gone national.
Right.
And he one time he was bragging about how a lot of you people want me to fail. And then he turned to my camera and he looked right down the lens and he goes and points right at my camera and goes, "And you know who you are." And I almost fainted. I said, "My God, he did that right into my camera."
Yeah.
And when he died, I put together a tribute video.
Right.
That the president of his network, which is called Premiere, they were the wonderful lady by the name of Julie Talbot. She runs the whole network. She was Rush's boss, so to speak.
Right.
And she said, "We had a whole year to prepare for this. We knew it was coming. I handled it beautifully. Until I watched your damn video."
Don't do it, Art.
Oh,
here we go.
Yeah. No, I'm not going to cry.
Okay.
But I'm telling you, the 2 of us were crying on the phone.
I believe it.
We were bawling like you cannot believe.
I believe it.
Because she said you showed a human side to him.
Right.
It was stuff that I shot, not stuff that the TV networks did.
Right. And that's the kind of thing Art has been doing for years and years and years. And so quite a bit of that showed up on the WGN 100-year special.
Right.
But there's a lot to fill in between then and now. And we'll do more of that when we come back at 7:20.
Great.
WGN. 7:20 WGN. I'm John Landecker with my good friend from high school, Art Vuolo, who is part of the team of people who put together the 100-year special that we all enjoyed on Channel 9, because Art has been shooting video of radio personalities for as long as I can remember. So how many stations have you followed me to?
Too many to count,
Come
John.
on. Where'd we go? Where'd I go?
Look at the time.
What? Come on.
It's 7:20.
I know, it's 7:20.
It's 7:20 on your radio. It's 7:20 on your clock.
I saw that was coming, and I wasn't going to say anything. And then
it's 7:20.
Yes, I know it is.
No, well, I started out.
He lives for stuff like that.
I started in Ann Arbor with
yes.
you. Then I followed you to was Flint next? WTRX in Flint.
Actually, I think I went to Grand Rapids. I don't think I saw you in Grand Rapids.
No,
did
you were actually at a station outside Grand Rapids.
Right. So then I went to Michigan State.
No, where did Flint come in?
Oh, wait, hold it. You saw me in Flint?
No, I never. No, I followed you to Flint because you were at a station called Tricks, but Tricks are for kids.
Well, that was WTRX, the home of the Jones Boys.
Yeah, that's right.
And
were you at Jones?
I did. I was on weekends, and I was. What did I just graduate from high school?
Yeah.
And they said, "You're the weekend guy. You don't have to be one of the Jones Boys." And I said, "But wait a minute. I want to be part of the team." So I was Dow.
Oh, Dow Jones.
I was Dow Jones.
Just taking stock of the situation.
I've had 2 fake names
Yeah.
in my career.
And the other one I remember
Scott
was
Walker.
Scott Walker.
Yeah,
Now,
look out. And then I used
Well,
the
but
name
what was
Sean.
it?
I used the name Sean Compton on the air a few times.
Nobody would believe that.
Nobody would believe it.
Sean
I'm
Compton.
sorry. You're Sean Compton.
That
You want a
wouldn't-
mic?
that wouldn't work at all.
Come
Wait,
on,
Mike?
come on! If you're coming, if
No,
you're
but we
coming,
don't have
Sean,
a-
if you come into the radio studio, you got to put a mic on or headphones on and take a mic. What number does it say next to you? 4, 5.
This is number 5.
There we go.
Yeah.
How is Art Vuolo on the air?
Well, you're the one that can answer that question. I mean, that's the thing I was going to get to eventually. I mean, Art and I are going through this thing about how long we've been following each other around the radio landscape, from Michigan to Philadelphia to Flint to Cleveland to Chicago a few times at different places, and now here. But where do you come in? That's what I want to know.
I came through Cincinnati.
How did that work?
Wally Phillips came from Cincinnati.
Yes, so did Ron Britton, who was before your
that's
time, I
right.
believe.
Yes.
Yeah, but at any rate.
I met Sean when he was like 19 years old. He was a scrawny little, too pale.
You're on the air, Art.
Yeah,
We are on the air, yes.
Yeah, redheaded.
I've been waiting for this all day. I've been waiting for this. I knew this was going to happen.
He looks better
I was
now.
going to get Sean and Art in the studio at the same time. It just had to happen, and here we are. I love it.
Well,
I just love it.
But I've got 2 cameras, but 3 people now. See, we're trying to record this.
But that's okay. You can fix it in
Well,
post.
I just came in to say happy birthday to the great. Well, you guys saw the TV special, right? Oh yeah, Landecker
Hello.
cried. You cried.
Yeah, I did.
It was
As a matter
emotional.
of fact.
That was a tough one to get through.
Don't get Art going.
No, I know.
I'm not going
Because
to.
Art will like.
Art was part of the production.
Yes.
It was thanks to Art Vuolo that he had all these amazing archives.
Yes.
And for many years we made fun of him for coming around and filming these stations. We always be like, why is this guy in that? But now we know why he was here.
Now they're priceless.
They're
Talk about
priceless.
making fun of him. I mean,
I know.
it was horrible.
Yes.
I mean, it was brutal on the part of some very famous radio people,
Yeah.
the way they treated Art. They let him in.
Yes.
They let him in, but he had to go through this gauntlet of insults.
Oh, I was
Correct.
shredded by
But
Stephen Gary.
Here's the best part is everyone in Chicago, all the folks that watched the special got to see, and it's online right now, WGNradio.com. Everyone got to see these great archives, this video of Wally and Bob
Yeah, I
and
know.
Spike and
Kathy and Judy,
Kathy
all
and
those
Judy,
people,
everyone
All
that
right. Actually, I know that, but how do you guys meet? This is I want to know that story.
Art called me. I was working for a little company called J-Core, and Art called looking for my boss.
And you were in Cincinnati?
And my boss wouldn't want to talk to him. I was.
Yeah.
And so he says, he wanted to get into a station or something.
Right.
And I was nice to Art.
Oh, gee.
And because no one else was.
Exactly.
And so I was very nice to Art. And then it was a couple weeks later, we were going to the Indy 500.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I'll meet you at the Indy 500. And we went to the Indy 500, which is going to air on WGN
Yes, it
this
is.
weekend. I got to keep getting these plugs in.
Of course you do.
Anyway.
He gets in so many plugs that Sean is UL approved. I'm sorry. That was a good line.
That's a very good one.
That's what I could never figure out, because I've known Art since I was in high school. And, Sean, I haven't known you that long, but the fact that you knew Art so well, I'm like, how did these two get together?
Yeah,
Because,
of 30 years, 30 years.
Art's a very important person in my life, really. I mean, we've followed a similar path.
He gave me your phone number when we called you and said, we need Landecker on WGN. Art,
That's right.
You need a brokerage fee.
You called me up. You called me up and you said, do you think John Landecker would do a show for us at WGN? And I said, you could ask. I wouldn't be surprised. He said, do you have his number? I said, I've got everybody's
And then I
number.
called
I had
John.
your number the first time I met you.
And I called John. And he answers the phone. I said, John, you want to come to GN? He's like, I'm not running commercials. And I said,
What did I say? Wait a minute.
No,
I
I'm just
didn't-
being
I know.
dramatic.
Well,
No, you said as long as we had reverb on the station.
That's right.
That's what it was.
This is the relationship I have with Sean. You know what I'm saying? It's like you have to get through the fun stuff.
Well, I have to go to an
Because-
important dinner. And
Yes.
happy birthday to WGN. Or is it anniversary or birthday? I mean, is it the same thing?
Well, we're not married, so
no,
I think it's
not.
birthday.
So I guess it's not. It's a birthday.
Yeah, I
Happy
wouldn't say,
birthday to
"Well,
WGN."
anniversary, I don't
We're
know.
done with
Who
the
cares?
birthday talk. I know we've been doing this for a week, but But we've had a great.
It's 100 years, Sean.
Years.
It deserves a little time.
There are a lot of stations that turned 100 that haven't celebrated it. And
they're not even on the air anymore. They're silent.
It's really sad.
Sean,
really sad.
Now that you're not owned by a newspaper anymore, how about WGN standing for We Give Nonstop?
I don't know what that means. I'm going to turn my microphone.
I don't know what that means either.
We're going to turn your microphone off. You keep coming up with these. All right, I'm going to leave you guys.
You have a good
fun.
time.
Hey, it was a great afternoon, by the way.
Yes.
Loved it. How many people do we have in here, do you think?
We had 300 people
Wow.
in the party on this floor. I hope the fire marshal doesn't know.
Well, there's enough room here for at least 3 times that many.
Yes.
Art says to me, he says to me this morning, do you think there's a place at the station where I'll be able to sit down and just go over my email? I'm like,
you know what he does to me? I'm talking to some of our most important clients out there, and Art walks up, interrupts, and says, hey, I need cake. I haven't eaten. I said, Art, there's 1,000 trays of food. Where's the food? So I'm having to feed Art while we're trying to entertain our most important advertisers and employees.
Well, that's one of the reasons that you're a success. Wow. Because you know what you got to do, and it's not necessarily, the big muggity mucks. It's art. Well, it's art. Radio's best friend.
Happy birthday, WGN.
Yes.
And it's amazing that, Mr. Landecker, you've been alive for a big part of it.
All right, thanks, John. All right, there's the door. Come on. It's been alive for all.
Not all of it.
Not all of it. No, not all of it.
Most of it.
Most of it.
Sorry.
Yeah, hey, by the way, speaking of people who forgot today was the birthday and didn't wear their good clothing, who would that be, I wonder?
Guilty as charged.
Mm-hmm. Saw him in the hallway. I forgot today's the day. I said, you're kidding me.
Nope. Brand new sports jacket hanging in my closet.
Well, you know what? You could wear it. Are you in tomorrow?
Yes.
Well, wear it tomorrow.
It's a little late.
Well, nobody will know.
Yeah, that's it, Art. Thank you.
And nobody will care.
That's even truer. And like you, John, I have a much smaller connection to Art because I'm in one of his videos.
Uh-oh.
Yes.
Wait.
From the Rewind.
Yep.
There's a Rewind with me and Gil Gross, and we're talking about the price of Pepto-Bismol. Or you are.
Yes.
In a news story.
Yes.
And I say, wait a minute, you're telling me the price of Pepto-Bismol is, I don't know, $4.50 a gallon or something like that? One of the Rewind.
With the Rewind.
Yep. Yeah,
that
the Rewind.
was 07 and 08 we did that.
Yeah.
The brilliant Kipper McGee did that.
That's right.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
We'll have to find that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was fun. I'm the one that talked Larry Lujak into coming back for that.
I believe it.
I said every time Channel 7 was running a story about that, and every time Larry was speaking, all they could do is put up a still shot.
Right.
And he goes in his typical Larry Lujak voice. He goes, that won't do.
That's right.
I said, you're darn right. I said, you're going to get your butt back to Chicago. He didn't like big cities, remember?
I know.
Considering how long he was here.
I know.
And he was out in New Mexico and did the first one over Tie Line or whatever.
Yeah.
And so he came back, and sadly, that was the last time a lot of us saw Uncle Larry.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on a second. The last time, we've got Paul Harvey the last time. We got Larry Lujak the last time. And now you're in here with me.
Yeah, this is it, John. It's
Bottom
over.
of the hour. Time to
It's over.
Time to go to the WGN newsroom.
When news breaks in Chicago or the world, you'll hear it here, and we'll talk about it here. This is Chicago's very own 720 WGN, or download the WGN Radio app and stream us live.
WGN Radio News is on the air. Good evening. I'm David Jennings on Chicago's very own 720 WGN.
100 years.
We should all live to be 100 and have this much fun. Yep, we're celebrating a century of broadcasting, of speaking to and listening to Chicago on 720.
WGN, Chicago's very own.
720 WGN is where we are. I'm John Landecker with radio's best friend and my good friend Art Vuolo Jr. in the studios here at 720 WGN. Now,
last year I was a sophomore.
I know. And soon you'll be a senior citizen. Actually, here's the deal. We met in high school at a radio station. We've known each other ever since then, nonstop.
Yeah.
You don't get to say that about a lot of people that you met in high school and they're still your friends, and they've been your friends all through time.
I got your book, and I asked you to sign it. Remember what you wrote in my book?
We have history.
We have history.
Oh, we have history.
We do.
So Art was a radio outsider in the sense that he loved radio so much, he wanted to record it on video, and he would attempt to get into radio stations and various on-air personalities, some of whom were accommodating, others were complete jerks who were jerks to him on the air. Vicious.
Yes.
Vicious. But still would let him in to record the video.
Yeah.
And so time passes, the videos accumulate, they're the biggest radio people in the entire industry, and it turns out that you have the, what's the word I'm looking for? The definitive collection archive of the history of radio in the United States for the last 70 years, 50 years, 40 years, whatever it is.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. And I remember back in 2015 at the Radio Hall of Fame right here in Chicago.
Right.
A gentleman by the name of Craig Kitchen, who is the head of
the museum.
whole thing. Yeah. He said, and this was a total surprise to me. I did not know it was coming, did not know anything about it.
Right.
And in fact, I just gotten out of the hospital. I was on a cane. I was a mess. I don't know how I even made it that night, but it was the greatest night of my life because he surprised everybody. I got a standing ovation. And as he said, they're going to take all of my videos and put them into the museum and onto a special website so people all over the country can see what I did. Because what I did is I basically archived radio during a time when radio was fun, radio was entertaining. Now, WGN is one of a small handful of radio stations that still know how to entertain. Unfortunately, too many of the people that run this business think that disc jockeys should just shut up and play the hits. They don't realize there's a million places you can get music these days.
That's right.
There used to be a jingle, remember, it's what's between the music that counts. And we were thrilled with these personalities.
Right.
So thank God there are still stations like this one. And I'm not stroking WGN. I'm telling you, it's just the truth.
Yes,
that is a handful of stations.
That's right.
So that's why I'm very proud that I at least did capture a time when future generations can say, wow, they were really funny or they were really informative.
Well, obviously, we are on the inside of radio, and a lot of people who are, I would say, the great vast majority, maybe 99.9% of folks who are tuned in are not inside radio. So just let me tell you that Art goes from being the wonky, geeky outsider to the person who has the definitive collection of broadcast history to the person that no one will do anything unless he's invited. I'm not kidding.
Well,
whether it's a radio convention, how many conventions in Chicago?
Oh, yeah.
That morning show boot camp.
Yeah.
How many of those have you recorded?
Too many.
Exactly.
In fact, we're going to be back here in Chicago, I think, in August. And,
we're talking so
in the morning, for the people listening that are not radio geeks, like I am, the morning show boot camp is actually a radio convention of morning show guys.
Yes, it is.
There were years ago, people used to say it was the ego convention because they got the biggest egos because they made the most money. but it's a great convention of mostly now up and coming young people trying to be what you were, John, what Lou Jack was, what Surratt was. All these different people that have really made it. Because the big money is usually made in the morning.
That's right.
And everybody wants the big money. I mean, I'm not going to say that's a bad thing, but that's the reason why we do these things.
Okay, just maybe this will put it in perspective, and I'm going to stroke my own ego here for a minute.
Uh-oh, you have an ego?
So I was fortunate to be inducted into the National Association of Broadcasters Hall of Fame. 2
years after my big announcement.
But it was right at the onset of COVID, and everybody was supposed to go to Vegas, and that was canceled. So they asked me, who would have some video of you? Or I said, well, probably Art Vuolo. And so they roll this video in the virtual induction ceremony. And I'm at WL-S Radio in 1980, whatever it was. And there's Art with a camera.
Yeah.
And I'm going into the camera. I'm going, oh, and Art Vuolo's recording this for the National Association of Broadcasters.
Yeah, that's right.
That was 1980.
Oh, that's right. That's
what, 86?
Yeah,
7?
about that. You were wearing a T-shirt that says "We are swine." I'll never forget.
It was for Crackus Ham.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yes.
He says, "Yeah, people can watch this," and then you did the little rap with the fingers, like big deal. Like, who cares?
But I thought that was, I didn't know that video was coming.
Yeah, I know.
Right?
That was fun.
But the idea that you're recording me on a radio station here in Chicago and I say it's going to be played for the NAB and then bang.
Yeah.
It's the NAB and here it comes again.
You've heard the name before. You've heard him kicked around on the dial. And he deserves it. Art Vuolo's here. Art Vuolo is, radio's best friend. And what he does is he goes around the country, everybody, and he makes videotapes of people that are on the radio. And that's what he's doing right now. There's a video camera in here, and everything that's going on in this studio is now being taped to be shown at the National Association of Broadcasters, a group of people who convene yearly and under the pretense of meeting public standards, find new ways to make money, basically.
How do you think I felt when I'm sitting here watching an HBO special the other night? And
wait a minute, hold on. Let me. We're going to break before we get into that. So let me just.
That was a tease.
So let me.
That's called a tease.
So let me just continue down this road a bit.
Okay.
So that's an example of how long Art and I have known each other in a connection through radio. There's other connections, but I'm not going to deal with that now. So the idea that we would meet on. In Ann Arbor as high school students at a little tiny radio station on a dirt road across from a dairy farm to where we are now.
Yeah. The Big Kahuna.
That's the story. Yeah. I think that's the story.
Yeah.
I mean, a legitimate story, man. I mean, here we are. We're at WGN in Chicago. We're at the 100th anniversary of this radio station. You and I are on the air. We're filming it or videotaping it, rather.
I came out to see you on New Year's Eve.
Oh, my God, I got to tell that story.
With a box of records.
Wait. I'll get to the break. Hold on a second. Good God. So many people want to take control. Have I ever told you about that?
Yeah, control freak.
So here's the deal. There was this little radio station that I went out to get my first job, and they had me come in on New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
And it was a station that played things like Perry Como and Henry Mancini and that kind of thing. And I'm in there and I'm loving it. And I get this call from Art. And Art goes, listen, if I bring my collection of 45 RPM records, rock and roll records, out to the radio station now and you put them on the air, you'll be the only FM radio station in southern Lower Michigan and northern Ohio to play rock and roll on the air on New Year's Eve.
Yes.
And I'm in high school, and here he comes.
Yeah.
And
we had a ball.
And here we are now, and we are having a ball.
Yeah.
More when we come back on 720 WGN.
Wow.
Chicago's WGN.
720 WGN, John Landecker, my very good friend for years and years and years, Art Vuolo, who has collected and cataloged the history of radio, not only in video, Art, but I just flashed on being at your house and down in the basement, there's like cassettes and recordings of and even reel-to-reel tapes of people who were on the air. Who does that anymore? Nobody. But who did that?
Yeah.
You did.
Well, you know, and I did an album, The Greatest Moments of University of Michigan Football, and I remember the late Bob Ufer, his son Tom Ufer said, if it weren't for me, they wouldn't have any of this stuff.
You should see this.
Nobody saves it. I'm a pack rat.
How about Betamax?
Oh, yeah.
Let's talk about Betamax for a minute.
Literally thousands of Beta tapes. Yeah, Beta was better.
Beta was better, but they didn't have the marketing that the VHS did.
That's right. Because Sony was stingy. They didn't license it.
How many times have we had this conversation?
Yeah, well, it's true. You know, I've got all the formats. I mean, from Beta, we went to 8mm tape, then we went to mini DV.
Right.
Now we're recording everything, including this show right now, on a little card that I can put 11 and a half hours of HD video on a chip, smaller than a potato chip.
Let me tell you something. So I'm going to say it again. Art and I met in high school. He's been following radio ever since. As an outsider, now he's an insider. Totally. Nobody wants to do anything in radio anymore unless Art's there to record it on video. It's just the way it goes. And then for years, Art has had a birthday party at his home, which is in Michigan. And I'm telling you the truth.
A lot of big people were there.
Some of the biggest names in radio fly in every single year just to hang out. It's nothing more than a bunch of radio people with like fried chicken and cake and
a lot of our
salad.
mutual friends.
Yes.
Joey Reynolds, one of the greats.
Yep.
Dick Burton in Detroit.
From Detroit,
all these people. And then you, I mean, my God, I had some of the biggest stars in the business.
And they came from L.A., too. They came from everywhere.
That's right.
And they still do.
Shotgun Tom came.
They still do.
And Flash Phelps from
Sirius XM.
Sirius XM.
Pat St. John, Sirius XM.
Right. They were all there. I mean, have we dropped enough names?
Well, I want people to get the perspective of who you are in relationship to the industry and also who we are as far as our chronological timeline travels in parallel.
And I've been listening to this radio station since I was a kid.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I had a friend of mine in high school in Indianapolis that he introduced me to what he fell asleep to every night.
WGN.
And you know who it was?
In Indianapolis, who fell asleep at WGN.
On WGN,
no.
It was called the All-Night Meisterbrow Showcase. And the host was Franklin McCormick.
Wow.
I often wondered if McCormick Place was in any way not named after him, but the family.
Somebody asked. I was talking to somebody about the 100-year anniversary, and I could not remember that.
Yeah.
What was it called again?
It was the All-Night Meisterbrow Showcase. Meisterbrow beer.
Yeah,
it was the big sponsor. This is back in an era when you had one sponsor advertise. In Detroit, we had a show called American Airlines All-Night. It was Night Flight 760 on WJR in Detroit. And it was the same kind of a thing. The airline sponsored the whole all-night show.
So here's the deal.
Yeah.
Here's the deal with Art. So years ago, Art, doesn't work at a radio station. Sometimes he can't even get into them because the people are such jerks. So he decides to publish what's called a radio guide.
Yeah.
Now, what was a radio guide? Well, you're from the Detroit area, so he cut this deal with like the motor companies there, Ford, GM, whatever they were. What was the radio guide?
When you travel, you would run out of your favorite station if you get too far.
Right.
This is before the internet and all that stuff. And you need to know what the next station is to play your kind of music.
Right.
And I put out, believe it or not, over 33 years, I put out 100 million of those little radio guides. And they were almost all of them were printed by a friend of mine's printing company called Fenton Press. Sadly, it doesn't exist anymore out in the suburbs, in west suburbs in Addison, Illinois.
Right.
So I got to know Chicago very, very well. But they were wonderful little guides. Yeah.
And they were in. If you bought a car or you rented a car.
Well, and we put them also in to like Burger Kings and McDonald's and 7-Eleven stores and places where lots of people would go and you could pick them up.
That's
and the
awesome.
Radio station would go say get a free guide.
That is awesome.
But now you don't need that because of the internet, because of satellite radio, and because of the fact that WGN, now you can get it on your phone. You can listen to WGN in downtown Los Angeles on your darn phone.
Speaking of, you just mentioned Indianapolis.
Yeah.
You're going down to the 500.
Oh, yeah.
That's one of the first 500, I believe, was on WGN, or one of the early ones anyway. Mm-hmm.
It's going to be back on, I'm told.
Yes.
Yeah.
Of course.
It's gonna be great.
And you'll be down there, and that's, it's totally appropriate.
Yeah.
All right. So I hope people have gotten some picture as to what I was trying to go for here in this hour, which brings us up to
what I said a minute ago.
What happened a few days ago.
Yeah. I'm sitting there watching on HBO George Carlin retrospective kind of a thing. It was called George Carlin American Dream.
Yeah, 4-hour documentary.
4-hour documentary, 2 hours one night, 2 hours the next. So I'm a credit reader. I stay in the theater to the very end of the credits. I like to read, who helped put it together.
Right.
So I'm reading and I'm still framing, each one so I can read the names. And here at the bottom, the second or third from the bottom, it says the John Landecker Show with quotation marks, not around records, which should never be because it is your real middle name.
Thank you.
But it was quotation marks around the whole line, the John Landecker Show. And I said, what the heck did he do? And then I found out that you had George Carlin, I think, on your show.
Yeah, I didn't know that this existed until Art sent me a what do you call it, screenshot. Mm-hmm. And I get him on the phone. I go, what is that? What is this? Oh, this is the George Carlin. I said, the Judd Apatow documentary on HBO? He goes, yeah. I said, that's the John Landecker Show, is there?
Yeah.
And there was an incident, not an incident, that's the wrong term. There was a point when I was doing a morning show at 104.3 here in Chicago, and George Carlin was in town and came in on the show for about a half an hour.
He was funny.
And it was really good. I mean, it was obviously spontaneous, improvisation, the whole bit. And that was that. And then some weeks later, I don't remember exactly the timeline, we received a request from George Carlin's people to get a copy of this interview on the show. And so we sent it off, and I hadn't thought about it since then. And this is right before 9/11, by the way, if you want to put it in perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Until you
I brought it
got
to your
me.
attention.
And I'm like, what? And it's amazing how things work out. I mean, there was a segment of it that I had kept because it was totally outrageous. And out of nowhere, 3 days ago, this tape falls on the floor in my office, and it's the original digital audio tape of the entire interview with George Carlin.
It'd be so great if we could hear that.
Hey, what do you think?
Why?
Coming up right after the 8 o'clock news.
This has been, boy, I got all my cues, all my plugs.
I got a break.
We got a break.
Thanks, Art.
WGN, I love it.
Thank you, Art.
Chicago, is that a legal ID? Thank you.
Even if it's illegal, I'll take it.
I love you. Take care.
The news is next from the Northwestern Medicine Newsroom on 720 WGN.
100 years, WGN, Chicago's very own.